All right, everybody. Ross, the Fig Boss. So we're gonna do a live stream today. You guys can see me all right in the camera just a little bit. So we're gonna talk about our fig season so far. And before we get into this, I just want to post the stream to my social media just really quickly. Get that link. For some reason I can't find the link where I go live. Very strange. Let me just create a create a post here on my social media really quickly. That way, some more people can join us for the stream. As I said, we're going to be doing. Um, where's the one of these? Oh, as I said, we're going to be doing an update for you guys. It's been a long time since I've done a live stream. By the way, we got some nice wine. Join in on this Friday night. You know, we got nothing to do, no one to see. All right, really quickly here, guys. Join me in a live stream video. Ram. I get the word out, you know. I don't share this stuff. I don't know who is because it's not like you guys are sharing this stuff. That'd be nice. But then again, no one really has any more contact with my audience than I do. So we got to do. Then we'll do one more on the blog, just so that people full idea. All right, look at this. We got all these people in the chat already too. Holy crap! By the way, we've had some really nice figs this year, and we've also had some very bad figs. I mean, it's been like a really up and down season. Um, I remember saying, I think in the beginning of the season, that I had such great quality fruits that I was like, you know what? Even if I just had the worst season from this point on, I think I'd be okay with it because I had such amazing fruits that really just blew me away. And anything after that point was like a bonus. We had a pretty good week uh, recently, and it's in September, oddly enough. So anyway, guys, thank you for joining me. Here we go. We're live. We're doing this. Everybody's in the chat. Thank you guys for joining me here. You can see all your questions. If you have any questions, we're gonna answer this stuff at the end, but we're gonna talk all about the big season thus far, what I've been doing, just some different things. Krista said, enough about the wine. We're here for the lowdown on your Del Nora cuttings. Looking forward to this live stream. Yeah, it's good to see some of you guys in here too that have been here in the past. It's been a long time, and I just haven't had time either. And I've talked about that just in the announcement video that we did not too long ago, where we did a California Rare Fruit Growers presentation. By the way, if you haven't seen that presentation, I mean, I don't even know if I've ever put that much information, that much encompassing information in one place about growing figs. So, like, if you want to learn about growing figs, I mean, that is the video. I mean, I don't know how much more I could get into more detail about each individual topic, but I covered a lot of stuff, and you don't find that stuff in the books, man. Some of it you do, depending on what you're reading, but at least in your, I should say, in your average everyday knowledge of figs, you just ain't gonna find that stuff. So check it out. And then all right, so let's start. I want to talk about, I guess, like I said, I was kind of leading into how we've had our season thus far. And we really started off, and I don't really have that many pictures this year, guys. I was trying to take as many photos as I could, but I've really only taken photos of varieties that I was particularly very interested in taking the photos of. Um, so if I've ripened the figs in the past, or a lot of the figs in the past, I didn't really take a photo. Just in general, we've had, I don't want to say the best quality figs I've ever ripened, but it's definitely at a certain point of this year we had the best. We had a very, very good quality fruit. As of late, the fruit quality has been very poor, and then about, let's say, like a week ago, we had fruit quality that was unbelievable for that time of the year. And it really all depends about that rain, all that climate conditions that we get. It really changes things. We had a really warm year this year. At least people were thinking it was so warm, but if you actually look at the growing degree day calculator for my area, it's right along the 15-year average. So in terms of heat, it's been pretty much on average. I would say in terms of rain, we were doing fantastic, and then it just started raining like crazy. Before it started raining like crazy, we had, like I said, some of the best quality fruits, and we started off mostly with Smith. We actually had some Campanieri figs, as I can show you guys. I'm trying to get to the photos here, kind of at the beginning. So this is sort of it right here. We had some Oro de Caneva. We had some. This photo right here, I think, really sums up the beginning, at least, of my main crop season. We had Smith, we had Campanieri, and they were drying. And the fruits, not only were they drying, but the textures of the fruits were changing so amazingly. Actually, here's an entire plate of Smith. I mean, what a fig, guys. I mean, I've said this in the past, and I've talked about it so many times. Everyone's like, it's so common. Who cares? It's been growing in the South for years. Like, why is it so expensive? But it just, like, legitimately is, seriously, one of the best figs you can grow. Like, there is no, I don't even know how someone could disagree with that. We had some really incredible Campanieri figs. I mean, the tree, by the way, potted tree that did get a I think it got a yeah, it did get a head start in the greenhouse. And it ripened all of its fruits in such a short, quick window that, and in that window, it was mostly dry. And the fruits were just nuts. They were just incredible. Seriously, like, such an early fig that you could grow that fig anywhere. And it's gonna ripen all the figs, most of them with very little problems, if any. The same thing could be said with this Smith. Like, this plate of Smith I had was just, like, mind blowing. And especially, really realizing the fact that, first off, the texture, when it's really dry and they get sort of dry, kind of shriveled up on the tree, they turn into like a coldedom. Talked about that. But also, it was the realization this year that pretty much every single Smith I ate, I enjoyed. And I enjoyed it at, like, such a high degree. Whereas I have other figs, which, by the way, in their own right, they're really tasty. Like, here, I'll show you. Actually, I think I may have a photo of it in its very sad state, if I can find it. Yeah, I'd be able to find it, but here it is, right here. This is Paradiso Bode, or Paradiso from Bode, which is, in my opinion, one of the best tasting figs. But you could see I cut off the bottom because it split, and most of the fig just didn't ripen, and pretty much all the figs split. It's really a shame. Until we got to this dry period, like I was saying about a couple weeks ago, where I actually got one that was as good as I'm gonna get. I'm trying to find it here. And it was, it was good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's amazing that fig can do what it does, but, like, that's really, I think, what separates, the ones that perform well here from the ones that don't, and really the tasty fig. Actually, here it is right here. So I harvested this one on September 15th, when we had our dry period. So you could see that um, this was fantastic. I mean, it was really seriously one of the best tasting figs. But like, how many of these did I actually get to enjoy? And the tree produced a ton of fruit. You know, it's not over either, but still, like I say to you guys all the time, it depends on where you live, and figs are so picky about climate that they're in, and um, Paradiso Boat or Black Madeira or even Italian 258. And I had this other fig that was really impressive this year called Regatta Rosa A. Even Cavalieri, probably you could put in this category. They're so tasty, but at the end of the day, you probably only get like 5% of the figs that you actually get to enjoy. 5% of the harvest. If you have 50 figs on your tree, you're only going to enjoy actually 5 of them. Actually, that's 10%. So yeah, about 10% of the harvest. It's just a shame. It really is, because I know how tasty they are, and I know the potential of how tasty they can be, especially when in a dry place. But so that's kind of the story of what's been going on here. Is that we had some amazing quality, then we had a lot of rain, then we had a dry period, and we got really tasty figs. As this actually right here is a good representation of the dry period we had. This is kind of after Ida. Ida came in and really messed with a lot of people. Um, Finally got some drier weather, and then this was just like insane quality, especially for this time of the year. And this is September 19th, so really just amazed. And then it rained, about an inch, something, ton of rain very quickly, all at once. And I had to harvest a lot of my figs and a lot of my even just other fruits, tomatoes and peppers, just so that I could get everything in the house before that rain came. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. So we're kind of back to square one with like trying to get good figs. You know what I mean? Big rain comes in, ruins everything, or I have to pick some things that are underripe or not as good as they could be. Then we have to just cross our fingers for like another week or 10 days, ideally, very little or no rain. Um, Probably even more than that, to be honest, maybe like 2 weeks, because they're gonna get hit. There's some like after effects of all that rain in terms of the quality. So that's where we're at. And then, by the way, to top the whole thing off, which I didn't get into, I will on the YouTube channel at some point. Video is that you guys remember that big shade tree in my backyard that we did a video on years ago? It's a black cherry tree. I talked about how the black cherries ripen on the tree, and there's thousands of them, and they fall from the tree and they start to ferment, and you can't even eat them. I don't even know if the black cherry is edible. Um, Black cherry tree. I forget what the actually a Prunus serotina is the name of it, and maybe you could make use of them in some way. But the problem is there's thousands of them. I can't really harvest them that easily, and then what ends up happening is that they fall to the tree, fall to the ground, and then um, they'll ferment. And when they ferment, they attract so many fruit flies, and this has happened ever since I've been growing fruit here. Years, guys. That this tree has attracted all these fruit flies, and it depends on the year. Some years the tree doesn't really flower, or if it does flower, something happens, and maybe some weird frost or weird thing that comes in. Just the tree, for whatever reason, doesn't bear thousands of trees. Not that many. Other years, you have the birds that come in, and came in this year, and they typically do is they'll get these migrating birds that come in, eat all the cherries off the tree in like a span of 3 days. By the time the birds come in, it's already hundreds or thousands of cherries already in the ground, and they ferment, get the food source for these fruit flies. And of course, you get all these fruit flies that then attack other things. They multiply, they have so much more completion of their life cycle. Then they go after all kinds of things. They love, at least historically, they've loved it at that time of the year when those fruit flies are all over the place and the cherries are kind of all over the place is the blackberries, the raspberries, figs, and also the strawberries too. So like just a real struggle. If you have one of these trees, it makes life so much more miserable. I finally got around to putting out a bucket. Got so sick and tired of it. I mean, the thing is, I have so many figs this year that it doesn't really matter to me. But I didn't want to keep putting up with this. Getting to the point actually where almost all of them, I really had to take some measures here. I'd probably have to say 70% of them at a certain point was getting fermented. Got the bucket out, put all the fermented fruit, I mean, all the fruit. It's the figs, the raspberries, potatoes, the whatever it is that's fermenting. Put some water in there and then put some soap in it, some dish soap. That seems to sort of help, but it's still not really a total solving of the problem. But we'll see. This year and other years, I haven't seen really any success yet with it. I haven't done it. It hasn't been out there long enough. I put the bucket out there maybe, but I'll tell you, in other years, it certainly has helped. It's lessened the number of flies, and I may even consider putting like multiple buckets or multiple sources, or even some traps for these fruit. It's easy to develop a trap like this. Very easily create like a kind of bottle system, the fermented fruit in there, and the fruit flies are attracted to it. That could certainly help reduce the numbers, and that's really all it is. Reduce the numbers. They stop completing their life cycle, and then hopefully in a week or two you'll be all right. But anyway, that's the deal with the fig season, right? I mean, that's kind of it. What I want to talk about now are some varieties. Is I've really been impressed with some of these figs. I want to talk really about like 5 or so varieties. They're gonna come out over. I don't know. I mean, guys, I got so many videos now, reviews on some of these coming out, and a lot of them you guys never even heard of right now. So I think it's gonna be kind of interesting. What I would do is, if I want to keep up to date on some of the stuff, like before even some of the videos come out, go on the blog and go down to the bottom, sign up, subscribe. You just get an email every time I create a blog post, and I'm trying to make my blog posts happen here instead of on the fig communities, our figs like they have on the past. So if you want to see that kind of stuff and you miss that kind of stuff because I'm not a part of our figs anymore, this is kind of the place, and this is gonna be before the videos come out. Some wine, guys. Cheers, everybody out there watching right now. Howdy, Intimidator. What's going on, buddy? Wish you guys, seriously, I wish you guys a happy weekend. Hope you guys have some wine in your hands, and you guys get to enjoy life, because last year has not been very enjoyable, right? um I'm finally getting some more free time, and hopefully by December, um man, start doing so many other things, focusing more on this and all kinds of things. Really looking forward to the future. There's a lot of life changes in my life that happen very soon. Next, right around starting in December, but for the next few years, I'm really happen. So, cheers. By the way, I'm drinking I think this is a Rioja. Don't ask me the name. Winery. But it's very good. Now you guys, is it cutting in and out? It might be cutting in and out. Let me put um I put a noise gate on the thing. Actually, now that I get closer, it's kind of too loud. But I put a noise gate on it because there is some background from my computer that a problem. I'll have to fix that. Maybe I'll just take the noise gate off for now. That way you guys can just deal with it. Yeah. All right. I took the noise gate off. So that way there should be no issue. Is it good? At least right now. I just want to know make sure because the computer is making a little bit of noise and then the microphone unfortunately picks it up. Anyway. All right, we're good. All right, good. But yeah, this Rioja, I used to really love my Barbarescos, my Barolos. I have a couple bottles of a case of that I bought after visiting Mario in Connecticut many years ago. He was the one who really introduced me to great wine, and I really need to check in with that guy because I don't know how he's doing, at least lately, but he's been an awesome mentor to me in terms of wine, and I really can't thank that guy enough. And I know that we both grow figs and all that. The Phils, man, no. I'll watch the Sixers, but Ben Simmons, I feel like that guy. I've had enough of that guy. To be honest with you, I'm a basketball fan, so anyway, all right. Let's talk about these figs. I don't want to get off track too much. All right. This is a fig channel, guys. We're not talking about sports, Okay. All right. So then, let's talk about some of the figs that really impressed me. And you guys know that my spreadsheet exists. It's in the description of all the videos. And over the years, I've kind of been like developing this list of really top tier figs because we're trying to narrow this thing down, and there is a huge genetic diversity of figs. There's thousands of varieties, and it seems like they just keep popping up with more of them that people just keep introducing. And it's like, where is this fig even from? Like, how did you find it? Like, there's seedlings as well, which, by the way, I know a lot of people are into these seedlings, but most of them, end up not really being that great. And to be honest with you, there's so much that exists that people already have sorted through and love. And let's say Europe as an example, or even the United States. I mean, just think about like Black Celeste, which is a fig that I just really I'm making popular now because literally every single one of them has this crazy black pigmentation to it. And people just don't know, like, this is a fig that's been around for many years. And why has it taken so long for this fig to get any attention whatsoever? It's just a shame. Like, it's really sad. It's so sad. And I know that a few growers have loved it in the past, but it was so hard to find. It still kind of is hard to find. But this shouldn't be like the case. Like we don't need to be like going out there and finding all these seedlings and stuff that are unnamed, untested. Like, we don't even know if they're common. I mean, that's just the basic thing right there. We don't even know if they're common. But, like, I guarantee you, with all the fig knowledge I have gained over the years, that there are people who have spent years of their lives, and this is generations of people. They have sorted through all these figs. They have selected them. They have chosen the best ones. And because they are the best ones, they have survived. They're existing in Europe, in these literature, in these documents, in drawings that proves basically that they're a better fig. Even by the way, if you just go on Edible Landscaping or any nursery for goodness sakes, and you go to their fig section, these are like ridiculously good figs. Like, if you grow them for years and you really evaluate them and you really study them, you'll understand that, oh, they're in the nursery catalogs for a reason. They're here for a reason. And I'll bet you any amount of money, even though this is just some simple Verte piece of crap nothing fig, or this is a piece of crap Marseillais fig that no one even cares about, I bet you any amount of money that this fig or this fig or this fig or this fig or this fig is better than like 80 to 90%, maybe even 95, probably 95% of the seedlings that even exist. Yet, for some reason, and I don't want to diss the seedling people, because we need to do that. In fact, what we need to do, even more than the seedling thing, is that we need to go across Philadelphia. We need to go across New York. We need to go across basically everyone's backyard and evaluate the figs that are just there in our backyard. So if they're a seedling or if they're not a seedling, it doesn't matter. We need to be doing that more. So I don't want to diss this whole seedling thing, but what's even better, another level to that, is finding a fig in the Northeast or finding a fig in the South, finding a fig in these highly populated, densely populated fig populations where there's a lot of fig trees. That's where the best figs are going to be. That's where they are. It's just that simple. Like, we don't have to be going crazy, importing all this crap, listening to some crazy person promote this particular fig, when a lot of them, again, they really don't have any single piece of shred of clout to them whatsoever. And, it's been like that obviously for years, and people have been really upset about this whole thing for many years. But look at the list of figs that I have here. Are any of them a seedling? Are any of them, by the way, largely, this is probably the only fig on here. This is brand new. The only fig on here without really any sort of history behind it. This fig here. It's called Salato. I don't even know. It's just some random unknown fig. Actually, Zafiro is kind of just some random unknown fig. So it's not like it's impossible, but De La Senora Hibernenca is a commercial fig that's grown all throughout Europe. There's so many names for this fig. Azores Dark. It's a hardy Chicago type. You know how many hardy Chicago figs that exist? A Celeste. Do you know how many Celeste figs that exist? Campanile is at least 100 years old. Moro de Caneva is a commercial fig. Literally, somebody who was smart about figs decided that I'm going to grow this particular fig, probably out of a bunch of different figs, and is selling it commercially. You would think, right? If somebody's going to sell a fig commercially, it's going to have something good about it, right? It's going to be a good fig. So, yeah, I mean, the proof is it's here. You just have to look for it. But anyway, there's my little stupid rant. The point is that we have some new good ones, and I'm really excited to kind of talk about them because they've just been kind of on my mind. And so here's actually the first one. It's called Salato, and this is a fig that this particular piece of fruit I picked and then let it sit on my counter for a couple days, and that's kind of why it looks a little strange. But it was, shriveling and drying and kind of continuing to sort of, in a way, to ripen just on my counter without fermenting, without spoiling. This is a random Italian fig that doesn't have any history, at least, behind it. This is just a popular fruit amongst some of the Italian hobbyists, right? So that's kind of all it is. So here's actually one of them here that I harvested as well. This is such a good fig. It's got a really great thickness to it, to the pulp. The flavor is great. And you know what? It's funny because I noticed here's actually a photo of the tree, or at least a branch of the tree. And then I through my process of evaluating the productivity and the light requirements of all these different varieties and the shape of the fruits. So you could really evaluate a fig at such a young age based on such little amount of information, which is great that I've learned. It really comes down to the shape of the fruit, the way the fruit hangs on the tree, the length of the stem, the length of the neck, and the overall shape, and just how productive it can be in a lower light condition. Because in a lower light condition, if you don't have full sun, you can really evaluate just how much light it requires to actually set the fruits. And if it needs less light, it's going to be a more productive variety. And then, of course, you can see the size of the fruits too. So you don't need to be growing these figs for many, many years, I think, to get a very good evaluation. At least, a really solid evaluation on them. But just based on those little details. So this one here, again, Salato, you could see it's hanging really well. This is a fig I evaluated it early in the season with, I think, about 4 varieties out of the 70 or so new figs I had, new varieties I was evaluating, and the 4 of them really impressed me in terms of their the shape of the fruits, and the productivity, and all those things I kind of mentioned. Without even seeing a ripe fruit, I made the judgment call of just planting them in the ground. And it was kind of rough because when you plant a fig in the ground, that's such a large pot, and it was kind of dry for a bit there. You don't water the tree, you're going to regret it. They're going to drop some fruits. They're going to drop some leaves. The tree isn't going to, the fruits aren't even going to perform that well. But this one somehow made it through all that nonsense, even though this planting in the front of the house where I'm doing a hardiness experiment, it really is super dry there. So it was a struggle to keep this one. And also I planted another fig there, which I think is actually just a black Celeste. This fig here, I can't say it with 100% certainty because this one, the shape of this fruit was a little weird, but it tasted just like a black Celeste. The leaves look just like black Celeste, but the shape of the fruit was just a smidge weird because it's kind of round, oddly enough. But the point is that I planted a black Celeste out there, and I planted a couple things, and it made it through, and it ended up being okay, and producing some pretty good quality fruits. And what I think, because this is just some random, who knows what it is, variety. And that's the other problem, is that you get these random varieties that just are named something crazy, like Salato. It has no history behind it. A lot of them just end up being something that already exists. That's the other thing, right? At least the seedling is something new. But like, you go through all these figs. Let's say I go through Philadelphia and I meet all these people that have trees, and I talk to them about their figs. They, a lot of those figs are going to be something that already exists within the fig community. People already have most of these fruits, but there's going to be some gems, like hidden gems in those communities of people that just have a fig that we don't even know about yet. So what I'm thinking, though, about this particular fruit, and I can't say it with 100% certainty, but I think it's just Noir de Malone, is my personal opinion. Even kind of the specs on the fruit, on the outside, kind of give me that little, assumption as well. The colors may be a little bit off, but the shape is right. The texture is right. I have to look at the leaves a little bit closer, but for me at least, even if it's not Bologna, whatever the hell this fig is, it's amazing. And for me, it's a winner. So this is one we're going to hear a lot more about. I'm impressed with it. I think hopefully maybe not. It's definitely not this year, but next year, you guys will have the ability at least to grow this fig at some point. The next one is called Nin V. So here we go. This is so strange because the figs have such weird names, but I'm going to put them in chat so you guys aren't totally lost. But there's Ninvi, there's Salato. We're going to talk about Black Celeste. We're going to talk about Pisaludo. And I think that's how you spell Pisaludo. It could be one S. I'm not sure. And then there's another one. I can't forget about this. It's called Vagabond. So this is a fig that came to me from a grower in, is it the Czech Republic or is it Croatia? I don't recall, but someone, a friend of mine, really wanted me to have this fruit, this particular fig, as well as another fig that he grows called Nin ZS. So there's two of them, and I managed just to get them. And he, as an example, I can't remember what they mean. This Nin means something in his language. Um, huh. I find his blog. He has a blog. I can't remember what his blog is called. But the point is that this fruit, I didn't even have that high of expectations for it. This particular one, I was more higher expectations for the Nin ZS rather than the Nin V. By the way, confusing as hell, I'm telling you, with these names. But this is, because when I saw the photos, at least of the Nin V on his website, I was like, it looks like a pretty darn good fig, but I was more so in the expectation that the Nin ZS was going to be the star of the show rather than this one. But, actually getting this fruit to ripen, this is the very first fig. And by the way, I've only had one fig off of this tree. So, we still got a while to go before I can officially say that this is one of the better fruits. And that's why I don't have it in this category yet. It's in this little section here that I've kind of narrowed down some varieties down into. But if you look at this fruit just on the outside, which I found to be very strange as it was ripening, I was like, that looks to me like a golden Celeste, does it not? That looks like, and there's a lot of different golden Celestes, by the way. So there's the LSU Champagne, which it doesn't look anything like LSU Champagne, if you ask me. Let's see here. There is a golden Celeste that somebody is growing on our figs, and I managed to get cuttings of that. I don't know if I succeeded though in propagating it. Yeah, this is a decent photo right here. But you can see, it's got a long stem, a long neck, and the pulp is either amber or in a better climate, more well ripened, it'll turn red. And this is actually John Verdick's photo here on Figs for Fun. So, I've been thinking to myself, this fruit, just on the outside, when I was doing this video that I did, it's going to come out hopefully soon, I was like, that's just golden Celeste. But then when I opened it up, not that, it looked like this. And I was like, holy crap, this ain't golden Celeste. So the beauty of this fig, which is so incredible to me, is that it has all the, a lot of the characteristics of a golden Celeste. The leaves are, by the way, vastly different, so it's not anywhere close to a golden Celeste. It just looked like that on the outside. And the shape, so when you have the shape and you have the stem length and you have the angle of which it hangs, it's going to do well in this humid climate of mine. So already checked off a number of boxes. It's obviously pretty ugly with all these sugar spots, and it's really well ripened. But then when I tasted it, I was blown away. It doesn't taste anything really like a honey fig or like a golden Celeste would. This is definitely more of a berry fig or more of a figgier, sugary flavor to it. This is, to me at least, very interesting. That I think is well worth more study. I think just at its base level, let's just say that it's well worth looking at more closely at. So this one here is the next one. Very well ripened, by the way. That this one here is drying on the tree, and you might be thinking, holy crap, is this Black Celeste? But it's not. This is Vagabond. And this one comes from a grower in Bulgaria. So this is the same hobbyist. His name's Penin Pike in Bulgaria that also introduced Green Michurinska. This one also comes from him. And I got this from a friend of mine up in New York that was really nice enough to share this with me. But basically, I really didn't have high expectations for this. In fact, I thought it might even be very similar to like a Violet de Bordeaux. As it was ripening, as I'll show you guys, the fruits have that reddish appearance to them. So when you think about fruits with that reddish appearance like this, you think about Violet de Bordeaux instantly. Like they have that reddish hue. The leaves didn't look totally similar, but I'm like, hmm, I know this is going to be different, but it does look so similar. Like I was assured that it's different than Violet de Bordeaux. Come to find out, it's vastly different. It's not even close. I think it doesn't split. It doesn't crack. I mean, this is the only crack for the most part I've seen on this damn thing. And it dries pretty well on the tree, which is really quite special to me. Um, there it is. A different fig that I harvested as well. And when you get them super ripe like this, which by the way doesn't take that long, the hang time is pretty short. Um, by the way, I didn't really totally mention the hang time on these other ones, but Salato's about average on the hang time. I think Ninvi, we don't really know. I don't really know just yet, but it's probably slightly below average on the hang time. But Ninvi is kind of below average as well, sorry, Vagabond is below average as well. And when you get it really ripe like this, it tastes like a grape, and a really intense grape that bursts in your mouth of flavor. It's seriously one of the better tasting figs. And I've just been very, very impressed with it. The shape of it isn't perfect on some of them, but they're a little bit like a cigar. They're oval shaped, but the bottoms can be a little bit flat, which isn't perfect. It's not really what you want, but haven't seen any of them split, and it's definitely rained on them plenty. So I'm very high on that one, and I've already moved it up into this category here of like seriously the top tier figs. This one is called Pisaludo, which is in so many Pisaludo fig. It's in so many writings, and you know what? Here we go. It's actually in Condit's monograph. So if you look at the history of just this fruit, it's undeniable. Like it's been in so many different writings, Galicio's drawings. It's in a lot of Italian nursery catalogs. It's been grown for just a very long time, and I'm surprised this isn't loading here. Their website's kind of shoddy. Hopefully it's not me. We need more water, guys. Maybe more wine will do it. When figs crack, it's not a sign that they're super ripe. No. When figs crack, it's a sign of lower quality in the fig. What you really want is to look at the neck. When the neck is soft, that's when it's ripe, Joe. I mean, it can be an indicator that it's more ripe than less ripe, but typically I don't look for cracks because it's misleading, and it can be misleading in a lot of fruits. In fact, Black Celeste, as an example, cracks quite a bit, as you can see here on this particular fruit. But I assure you that this is not ripe. You have to check the neck. A lot of them can crack before the neck is even soft, and they ripen, Joe, from the bottom up. So if you check the neck, you know that the fig is ripe because they're ripening first down here, and then they go up. So if the neck is soft, you know the rest of the fig is ripe. It's a really common thing that people just don't, for some reason, they still mess with that. One little simple thing. All right, so then let's see here. Where was I at? So yeah, Pisaludo. I guess this isn't gonna load, but essentially it's like I said, well documented, and to me, it just overall you can tell like overall is a very, very good fig. Like it checks all the boxes. very typical of something that's been grown and spread around Europe for a very long time and sorted through for a very long time. It's going to check all those boxes for the most part. I don't know how hardy it is. I don't know, exactly how early it is. I can't tell you a lot of very specific details. I'd probably have to grow it for a very long time, but like I can tell you that the rain resistance is very good. The split resistance is very good. It ripens within a reasonable time, and it's very productive. And to top it all off, the flavor of the fig is basically like Smith. I was so surprised to learn that this fig is up there. It rivals seriously, some of the best fruits I have in terms of flavor. So for me, it's really hard, I think, to make an argument not to grow it. It's pretty, like I said, it checks all the boxes. I have one of them in the ground. Actually, I have two of them in the ground, and I'm gonna plant my potted tree, I think, in the ground sometime soon before it gets too cold, along with a couple other of my trees, to get them hopefully in the ground, and then maybe next year they'll grow enough so I could start getting some cuttings and additional plants and starting to spread it around. So yeah, it's really fantastic in all aspects. I don't know about drying capabilities yet. The hang time is about average or maybe slightly below. So yeah, I'm impressed with it. All right, so then that's those, and then the last one's Black Celeste. People have been asking me a lot about this fruit now, and I've done it on the blog. We just put out a video talking about how I don't really know if the pigmentation is going to be consistent. I mentioned that in the video, but that has already been proven that it is consistent here with virtually every single piece of fruit I've ripened. Once you learn how to pick the fruits, it's amazing. And you can go here on the blog and you'll see it. Like, here's here's really the first one that I was like, holy crap, that's impressive. Then I got this one, which we talked about in the video. I said, this fig is absurd. Then we got another one, and this was the third one in a row where I was just like, okay, I guess at this point it is consistent. And then basically every fig since then has been consistent. And I'll tell you what, people don't give Celeste enough credit at all. It is literally, it is like probably the best fruit for a humid place. And I know that I put a lot of stock in Verdino del Nord and Ruccello de Elba because they dry so well and they resist a lot of that nasty conditions. But there's something to be said about Celeste because it just, not only does it shed the water and it hangs the right way, and I've talked to you guys about, even on the blog here, about the shape of these fruits and why the shape is so important. Having something that's more oval shape or pyriform, it's got a long stem, it's got a long neck, because the way that it hangs really impacts how it sheds that water. There's something really to be said about the skin of a Celeste. The skin just doesn't absorb water. There are some skins among figs that, even if they have the right shape, they will still absorb that rain, that moisture that hits the fig, and it gets into the skin. And once it's into the skin, the fig starts to expand very quickly, and then it could split or crack very, very quickly. And then, not only does it, when it absorbs in there, but it also ruins the fruits. If it goes all the way into the pulp, then you're looking at a situation where it starts to ferment the pulp, it starts to ruin the pulp, the brix gets lower, the water content's higher in it. It's just like, instantly ruined. And if you don't pick it shortly after it gets all that absorption of water, then you're kind of just, you're lost. And you got to eat them quick too, because they're gonna ferment and they're gonna spoil on your counter. So Celeste, just, I'm telling you, it could rain like, it could just keep raining and raining and raining and raining, and as long as it doesn't split, it just the water will not get absorbed. It's just amazing. Um, there's something about it in that skin, and I've been looking for other figs now that I've sort of realized this about the skin. I've been kind of really paying really close attention to the skin, and Verdino del Nord has a very similar skin. It's got a chewier skin to it, um, that I think has a similar texture to the Celeste. You can, I don't even know how to really describe it, to be honest. It's kind of like, I was talking to Dan Foster a little bit. For those of you who know who Dan Foster is, because he's really a big fan of these chewy skinned figs, and he was talking about like Genovese Nero and Black Madeira, and what was the other fruit that he said had a chewy skin to it? Calderwood, which is very similar to LSU Tiger. And by the way, LSU Tiger or Calderwood is just an improved Celeste. Isn't that interesting? So you have these figs with chewier skin, and they tend to, if you get the skin right. I don't think personally I have never ripened a Black Madeira or Italian 258 Genovese Nero that had the skin that I'm thinking of. But when you get the skin that's chewy, not just to your mouth, the feel of your mouth, but you can tell it's like got this paperiness to it, this chewy paper that you can even sort of feel it. When you get that, it seems like that's gonna be the key to getting a fig that's basically indestructible by the rain. So like Verdino del Nord and Nerucciolo d'Elba, I would say Verdino del Nord has more of that papery skin to it that resists that moisture. But what's nice about those is that they dry. So even if it does rain, it seems like they're resisting, or even if it does absorb some water, they're still resisting that fermentation and continuing, in a sense, to sort of continue to shrivel. Then when you get, like on the other side of it, is just you have Celeste or different types of Celeste, and it really does matter which one you have. I know that people are already talking about improved Celeste or Rourke, and there's so many different improved Celeste. There's so many just strains of Celeste that I've been growing that even exist that it's hard to find one, and you got to really look for one that has that skin to it. So at least for me, I think that's really where the money's at with that particular fig. And I could show you, I'm talking about photo after photo after photo where it has this pigmentation to it. And it's not like I'm editing, all this crap. This is just how the fig is. Like, it's insane. And it really is one of the best tasting figs. It's incredible. Like, every single one I eat that is basically perfectly ripe, and I'm just like blown away. I'm just blown away. So it's beautiful. It's got everything. It's literally, I would say, at least number 3. I have to really sit down and think about it, but it's at least right behind Verdino del Nord and Nerucciolo d'Elba in terms of where I rank it. So it's up there. You know what else, by the way, has that similar papery skin is Rosolino, I think. Rosolino kind of has that, especially when they start to dry up a little bit, and so does Campaniere. But the problem with Campaniere a little bit is it tends to crack too much if it rains. So it'll expand. And that's the problem, is that when they absorb that water, Campaniere I can't put in that category. I think the only real figs that I'm thinking of is like Verdino del Nord and Rosolino and probably Celeste that I can even think of off the top of my mind that has that papery skin. I don't know what the story is with Nerucciolo d'Elba, because I have plenty that are ripening right now, and it rained at least an inch last night, and I went out there, and the figs are completely unaffected. It's like nothing happened. And if you look at other varieties, like I have some green Ischia. Somebody reprimanded me today on my video. If you have green Ischia or green Ischia, however you want to pronounce it. You you look at those fruits and they've just absorbed all the water. They're fermenting. They're done. It's over. Um, so it's amazing. I think it's truly amazing. I've gone on enough about this rant. I think everyone's bored out of their minds. You get the point. So those are the five that we're really high on, at least right now. And you know what's funny is that I still have so many more to ripen. And I've been saying this to you guys for a while that I have so many amazing varieties that it's like people thought I was like crazy because I stopped they thought I was not collecting figs anymore or not like trying to find some other different ones or having, a crazy amount of varieties to grow. But it's like you would not believe the genetics that I've been able to attain. And it's amazing where I think the direction of figs for people in humid places, where that's going. Like, I think it's really awesome. Another one that I've really been impressed with, there's a few more I guess we could talk about, and then we'll get to everybody's questions, because I don't want to keep continuing on with this, but there's a few more that really impressed me this year, which was, let's see, Green Michurinska. That we had a video that came out today on that one. Super impressed with it. I like the shape of it so far. It doesn't seem to be too squatty like Green Ishia can be. Is this typically your Ciolato, and you can really tell that on Montserrat Pons' website. It just, all of them for the most part, like Panache or, a lot of these Borda Sote figs, they just don't have the right shape, guys. They just don't. And so, like, when you have a fig like this, it's just no bueno, But it seems like Green Michurinska, first off, isn't even an Adriatic type. It's not even close. It's not even similar in any way. Only has the colors right. But yeah, the shape seems quite different. It doesn't seem too flat to me. Some of them were more elongated, like that Nin V we looked at, or even the Pissoluto we looked at. Sister Madeline's Yellow is a fig you don't hear anything about. I mean, literally nothing. My friend Brooklyn Maddie in Long Island, he grew this fig for a number of years, and he gave it away. He sold it or gave it away to a friend of ours named Karen, and Karen lives in New York somewhere, and she was growing it. And then a couple years ago, there was a gathering of fig growers in Princeton. And I went to that, and Karen actually brought the figs from Sister Madeline's Yellow, or one of the figs, and brought it, and we got to taste it. And I was like, holy crap, actually is an incredibly good fig. I'm like, that's Sister Madeline's Yellow? And she's like, yeah, I got it from Brooklyn Maddie, and like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God. So at least for me, I'm been in love with it this year, because my tree has finally gotten to an age where I think it's reasonable to judge it. And I had the first one that was this shape, which really does remind me, by the way, of a White Triana, a Canadria, a Brooklyn White, an Atriano, Latarola, Lyndhurst White. So it's very similar to those figs, but it seems to get a more red interior to it. Really impressed by that. First off, the texture is very similar, and it can get thick. It really can get that thicker pulp, which this one has, which if you let it really ripen long, that's the trick to these figs, in that people don't let this fig ripen long enough. And that's why my buddy Matty didn't like this fruit. He just probably didn't let it ripen for a super long time. And the one that Karen brought to the gathering was basically like a dried fruit. It was seriously super shriveled, very impressive. And this is the first one I had this year so far, and it has the wrong shape. So this shape's not going to do. But what I'm noticing now on the tree, and the ones I've been harvesting in more recent times, or at least the rest of the figs on the tree, weren't so round and flat like that. I swear I took a photo of the shape of it. Maybe I might have deleted it or something. But they have a really nice shape. Oh, here it is, actually, right here. So this is it right here, and that they kind of have a shape that's a lot like Corinth and Moscatel Bronco, which are two honey figs that I really am liking so far, that blow Dotado out of the water. Because they have a longer shape, they get this longer stem. They have a longer neck. They're more of an oval shape. They're kind of like almost like a popone in shape. They're just superior here. And Dotado is probably one of the worst figs, actually, you can grow in a humid place. I personally think it just absorbs all of that water. So for me, it's so strange to observe this because this particular fruit has the same, like, even in its unripe stage like this, it's like the same shape and appearance as the Moscatel Bronco and the Corinth. It's so weird. But then as it ripens, you can see the obvious difference in it. And when you open it up, you can see the obvious difference in it. Where is the Moscatel Bronco? I desperately need some water. Next time we do this, I'm gonna not only am I gonna bring my wine, but I'm gonna bring like a gallon of water with me. This is not enough, apparently. And this is a pretty big thing. I think it's at least 28 ounces. Of course, I didn't fill it up before I started. Anyway, I can't find it, at least right now. Maybe I didn't even take a photo of it because I need to take a screenshot from a video I filmed. But the point is that it's got a good shape, and I'm impressed with that fig. I like the flavor. I like the productivity of it because it is very similar to White Triana, and I've been trying to find something maybe that's even better than White Triana. Like, you know, we're trying Unknown Mitica, we're trying Brooklyn White, and then we're trying that fig. And for me, I'm like, if it can continue to have that shape, I'm pretty much sold on it because I had one that was really good, that had the right shape. And I just swear I probably must have took a photo of it. Is this it? Yeah, I think that is it. Yeah, I harvested this one before the rain came in, I think. And yeah, I think that's it. So it had the right shape, and it was very good. Obviously, it needs to hang longer, so like you can tell that it's ripe, but it's not as super ripe as that I know it can be, and as good as it can be. So, kind of a shame. And then the last one here is actually, by the way, I've been really impressed by the Daloso from Belfiore. I just want to mention this really quickly because this is a fig I've been harvesting for years, growing for years. We've always had it in a pot. And you could see I even have it down here in the keeper list because it is a keeper. Like, it's a good fig. But it's not like as super amazing as it is this year. And the reason for that is because, again, it was always in a pot, but I planted it in the ground. And finally, that tree in the ground produced fruit this year. I opened up the canopy, gave it more light, and it set a lot of fruit. Those fruits are vastly different. It's so strange. Because they have more energy, because it has a larger root system, has more water, whatever it is, the difference between an in-ground fig and a potted fig can be pretty vastly different in the overall shape, even the length of the stem. And I believe for the majority of fruits, if you really want to decrease your splitting, it's better to grow them in the ground for that reason, because they typically will get a more elongated shape. They will typically have a better shape and a longer stem. Not all of the varieties will change so drastically, but that one changed so much so that I was like, is this even the same fig? You know? But it is. It's really impressive. So the last one here we'll talk about, and then we'll get to the questions in the chat, and we'll talk to you guys for a little bit, is it's called Verdone. And I have been harvesting this fruit. Really only got a chance to try it last year. It took me so many years for this fruit to actually stop dropping the fruits. And I realized it was because of a lack of water. My own mistake. A lack of soil moisture. But here it is, actually, right here. This guy on the left. Super impressive fig. And it is as good as it looks. I'm telling you. This really has an awesome berry flavor. Great thickness to the pulp. The skin is really impressive too. It doesn't tend to crack. The skin is a little strange in that some of them last year I noticed were like a little bit hairy almost. Furry is probably a good way to describe it. Kind of like I think White Marseille does that. Can't remember what variety it was that does that, but I think it was Yellow Niches. I don't remember. But the point is, the shape is good. You could see it's an oval shape. The stem was pretty good. I did see one of them split this year. So what I'm really hoping and what I really want to happen is that I'm going to put this in the ground, and then because I'm trying to air layer it, and the air layer took. So I'm going to plant that in the ground. And then hopefully it gets established and we can really start to evaluate it further than just growing it in a pot, because I think it's going to change pretty significantly in terms of, growing this particular fig in the ground versus in a pot, as I just mentioned with the Daloso. And it's just already as it is, it's very good. The unfortunate part is that I grafted it onto a rootstock, and I really made a mistake of planting some grafted trees this past fall, and they all died come spring. So I lost a lot of my trees this year. Del Sinois Grand, I lost Del Zermatons, I lost the Hativ de Argentile, I lost my Rosalino. Yeah, like a peach fuzz, Joe. I also lost my Verdino del Nord. So it's been a struggle, unfortunately, with these trees, because I was really hoping that planting these grafted ones in the ground would work out, and they didn't make it, because the low tunnels this year fried all my trees for the most part. And I don't think it has anything to do with the cold. It's all because those low tunnels just fried them. In fact, it shouldn't be the cold, because we had such a mild winter that really none of the trees took damage from the winter. So like, if anyone's interested right now, what happened with the low tunnels, Ross, it's, well, very simply is that we fried the trees. I had COVID and couldn't get out there and really observe the trees well enough to, know what was even happening. And we learned our lesson this year, but we had a lot of dieback because it was just so warm underneath those tunnels. And then that actually, because we saw that dieback, the trees took so long to then leaf out, because they had already started leafing out just barely, and then they got crumbled by all that heat. And then they tried to leaf out again, but it was like, at that point, it was just like a little bit too late for the low tunnels to really have much of an effect. It's really honestly a shame. Because I was really looking forward, and I know a lot of you guys were, to the potential of these tunnels. All right, so let's get into the chat here, guys. What do we got? Let's go all the way to the top. Christopher Allen, Al, what's going on, peoples? Happy autumn. Yeah, it's officially fall. Holy crap! I'm going apple picking tomorrow. My apples didn't bloom this year. I don't know what to say, and we did get a Hawaii apple, so I'll show you that real quick. This is a legitimate apple that you guys really should consider growing. If I can find it, I can never find anything throughout this whole stream. I harvested about 7 or 8 this year, perfectly ripe. They ripen around mid-September here, and I'm telling you, they do. They really do taste like pineapple. Beautiful apple, and all these weird little spots on it. I thought was just gives it so much character, and it's not even like. I don't think this is a disease or anything. I think it's just the way that the apple develops. So really interesting apple. Anyway, going apple picking because I need to get myself some apples. Um, I can't wait. Actually, anyway, I don't even if I probably if I had all my trees ripened fruits, I probably would still go apple picking. I mean, why not? All right. Alan said my very first fig is just about ripened. That's awesome. Hopefully you pick it properly, because an unripe fig is not very good. A very ripe fig is very good, and it's unfortunate because a lot of the younger trees they uptake too much water. We water our trees too much, so you got to watch out for that. And you'll learn next year if it doesn't turn out for you that great this season. Go in with low expectations. That's my only piece of advice. And wait, just, pick it because of the neck. Alice from Miami, Florida. I wish I was in Miami right now. Got some, family down in Boca, so it's a nice place to live. Kanga says it has been a long time. Welcome back. Alan's in the Pacific Northwest. We read Krista's message already. Christopher said, I have a fig tree that I propagated from a tree when I visited Florida, and it's done the best in my garden. I wish I knew what variety it was. Well, Christopher, when it ripens the fruits, cut them in half and send me a photo, and I'll hopefully I can identify it for you. Take a lot of photos. The tree, the leaves, all of it. Let's see here. Al said, Bordeaux, Negra, Ramada are beautiful to see. It is a very beautiful fig. You know what's... Seriously, by the way, I wanted to mention this. I forgot about this. Is that I've had a lot of blue figs this year. And people, in the past have been so anti-blue figs. They just think it's like a unicorn because there was a fig, Ficus Love, the photo was altered so erroneously that it just became a very hot fig. And since then, a lot of people really don't like it. But it never really turned out to be blue, and that we all learned essentially that it's not necessarily blue, and the photo was definitely photoshopped. But there are some legitimately very blue fruits that I think, for whatever reason, don't get looked at enough. This is Ishia Black USDA. This is blue. Black Celeste is blue. This Grise de Saint Jean has some blue coloring to it. This, by the way, is definitely one of the most beautiful figs I've got. Vagabond is blue. The Verdone is blue, the one we just talked about. This fig. And then what are some other blue ones? Pastilliere is truly blue. Yeah, here's Vagabond, blue. So I'm thinking to myself, there are blue figs. People just kind of, I don't know. I really don't get it. They just hate on the blue figs for some reason. And they're really the most impressive fruits, them blue figs, just to look at. It's incredible that nature created something like that, because you don't find a lot of blue in nature. Like the flowers typically aren't, what is it, purple or blue? I think it's just blue. But there are figs that are inverted flowers that are blue. That's incredible, right? All right. Christopher said it seems like the figs are happiest at the south-facing wall. Oh yeah, they love the heat and they love the sun. Krista said climate and rain definitely matter. but I truly subscribe to the old age theory that older fig trees generally, yeah, they do. The older they typically get, it seems like the better they produce. But it's not to say that you can't have a young fig tree that produces very high quality fruit. It's all about that water. And typically, these older trees, and my theory is they dig themselves in really far, and they're not subjected as so much when it rains a ton, which would ruin a really small root system. It would ruin the water in that root system, and it would uptake too much water. But the larger it is, the less affected it is by all that rain. Jalen says, "What's your best split/rain resistant figs?" Oh man, where have you been, Jalen? Well, honestly, this section here is where it's at. So go to the spreadsheet. You'll see the top performing figs down here at the bottom. These are the best performing figs in this climate. I can guarantee you that. Okay. Moppy Tobby just joining in. How come some of the figs are the size of my palm and some of this half the size of a golf ball? It depends on the variety. Every variety has different genetics that determine the size of the fruit, just like us as humans, right? We can only be so big because our genetics say so. We can only have such large muscles because our genetics say so. Al said, my Black Madeira growth has been nuts. Awesome. They can grow quick if it can, yeah, it'll grow quick if it's healthy. Moppy said a lot of ants issues. Show her the lower branches. No, you don't have to trim the lower branches. You can just use tanglefoot. What you do is you wrap tinfoil around the bark of the tree, around the trunks of the tree, down low. On the tinfoil, you apply the tanglefoot, and the ants crawl up the tanglefoot along the trunk, and then they get stuck, and then they die. Moppy says, I quit watering in June. Lots of water all season. Maybe a 2-week dry spell. Leaves turn yellow. Yeah, that's typical. There's too much water in the soil. Probably a lot of rust. It's tough growing figs in the south, I'll tell you that. Al said, I'd rather have fruit flies than Japanese beetles. No. I have Japanese beetles, and they have become a zero issue. You just have to, honestly, have really healthy plants. The healthier your plants are, the less those Japanese beetles will go after them. So you need to focus on improving the soil. That soil health creates healthier plants, and therefore your beetles or any insect be less likely to attack it. Joe, you're from Mexico. That's right, buddy. I forgot about that. Didn't I send you some cuttings one time, Joe? Or am I thinking of somebody else? Tim, what's going on, buddy? Yugoslav says, go to bed, young man. 30 years old. Cut the tree. I did the same. Hired some Mexican guys. $700. What? Jalen said, yeah, okay. Sacred Origins got some good stuff. Mark says, keep up the blogs. Thank you, Mark. Dude, I'm glad that you're I'm glad you're listening, or you're watching, or you're reading the blog. Sorry. Oof, brain fart. Yeah, I'm really been trying really hard to post more to the blog. We had that California Rare Fruit Grower presentation that came up, and I knew I needed to, after I was taking one of my exams, that I needed to set aside some time. I spent like a good week writing different things and trying to get that blog to a state where I could take some of that information from the blog and then use it in the presentation. But we're going to keep up with it as I go. I have a lot of videos and photos, screenshots I have to take from the videos, and we'll be talking a lot about these fruits on the blog. All right, blast us with your figgy voice. You should be watching the fills. Yeah, we talked about that. What is the Ben Simmons of figs? All right, well, the Ben Simmons of figs would be, I guess, technically something that performs well in the season, and then when it really matters, crumbles, right? So that would mean something that does well when it's dry, and then something that crumbles in the rain. So many fruits, so many figs. Um, hmm. I think Dotado is one that is coming to my mind at least because it absorbs so much of that water. Yeah, Ben Simmons is Dotado basically. Yeah, you can tweet at him and tell him I said that. But yeah, I wish the whole thing would work itself out and we could get someone good for Simmons, but it seems pretty unlikely because his stock is so low right now. It's not even like I don't like the guy because he's such a great player, but you just know that his mental toughness is so low. The mental psychology of sports is such an undervalued thing in any sport that it just blows my mind. I mean, I played tennis in college, although it was D3. I learned a lot about mental toughness, and that is what tennis is all about. It's really, a lot of it's technique, your athleticism, but so much of that game is about your mind. And I've won so many matches just based on my mental toughness, just by getting one more ball or, you know, coming up big in a big moment rather than just crumbling. Although I've crumbled plenty of times in big moments, but you can't be that person and expect to just be a professional athlete. You're getting paid. I mean, God, how much money is that guy getting paid? And he doesn't have the brain for sports. You can't. It's just ridiculous. He has the body, but he doesn't have the brain. And to me, that pisses me off more than anything about the whole situation. He wants to be a Laker. Yeah, I mean, he wants to go to California. That's for sure. Um, Thank you, Brian. Keep it in the greenhouse. Too much rain of late. It's been raining a lot. Um, at least yesterday it rained a ton. Hunt for the pokey figs. Gotta catch 'em all. I started a New Jersey fig page on Facebook just for this finding local figs that are old and reliable. Oh, cool, Brian. Have you talked to? Oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? Have you talked to New Jersey Fig Farm before? He has got some really good heirlooms that he's found over the years. Aaron Del Monte, that's his name. Sorry, Aaron. Joe, most folks say that fruit trees start giving fruit 8 to 10 years when just planted. Fig trees fruit earlier. Friend said key limes start fruiting in their second or third year. Well, Joe, it depends on if they're grafted. So if they're a seedling, you're going to get fruit a lot later than if they were grafted. But just in general, figs produce pretty darn early. Even seedlings of figs can produce very early. Yeah, so you got to graft them. And I would say the sweet spot for most fruit trees is probably around that fourth or fifth, sixth year. My persimmons, oh man, they take like 7 to 10 years before they really start to produce a lot of fruit and get their act together. Depends on the fruit tree, Joe. And the key limes, they're grafted onto a rootstock that really helps them bear at an earlier age. So that's really what it's all about. TJ said, "You get any San-Bagios?" I did. I just got one. The first one. I just got it. And it wasn't fully ripe. I had to pick it before the rain. So I don't really have much to say about it yet, although I can guarantee you this. It tastes like a cherry. It is a cherry-flavored fruit, and it's going to be very acidic. This is actually it right here. The skin seemed very it seemed like it to my touch to this, the skin kind of got compromised just by my hands touching it. It seemed very easy for it to do that. So I don't know. I'm not too high on it right now. Hopefully the flavor can impress me. It produces a lot. The light requirements are rather low. It seems it's finally established. I finally have some cuttings to sell I can't believe how rare it is. I just hope it turns out to be a lot better than that piece of fruit. It's a town in Croatia. Yeah, so there you go. Nin is it means something. Chris says nin in Japanese means patience, huh? What's going on, Chris? Let's see here. Golden Celeste is a white fig, right? Very rare here in central Mexico. Usually the dark skin are numerous figs here. Vagabond looks so sweet and scrumptious, packed with honey, no pulp. Yeah. I wouldn't say packed with honey, but it's jam packed. The fig scratch is super right. We talked about that. Eating figs versus cold room temp. You know what, Al? You kind of got a little point there. I've been kind of messing around with them in the fridge, and what I've been doing is I've been picking them. I need to do some cooking, by the way, of these figs. I need to do that before the season ends. I want to caramelize the figs and see what happens. Really do it well this time, because we did it earlier in the season. It didn't work out that well, but the figs I've been putting in a bowl in the fridge, and even if you just have a tray, a flat tray, you put it in your fridge and you lay out the figs cut in half in the fridge with the pulp side up. They will pretty much dry in the fridge. They'll continue actually to kind of ripen, and a lot of them won't spoil, and they'll actually be really, really good. So much better, because even if you just pick them sort of unripe, they turn into something really fantastic just by hanging out in the fridge for like a couple weeks. I've really been impressed with some of the figs when I do that. The problem is if you stack them on top of each other in like a bowl, then there's too much moisture and they tend to mold. So you need to like have a very flat tray, and it's only one fig thing. It's kind of crazy to do that because it's a lot of room in your fridge for figs, but it's a thing. You guys should try it. We need more water here, better wine. Oh man, what fig are you talking about now? Please mention them by name repeatedly, Phil. So I put them in chat up the top. Hopefully you got that. Olympian fig, figs over here of the turbinado and pyriform shape. What about improved Celeste? So Terry is saying that. What about this improved Celeste? So far, what I think I do want to talk more about Celeste. Actually, we talked about the skin, but as I'm thinking is that there's going to be a strain just like Black Celeste that is really, really good. And there's already some out there like Stallion and Sweet Diana and The One and, what are some other ones that are good? Violette de Marseille and Texas Peach. And, a lot of these are kind of like you could consider them a blue Celeste, but even the term blue Celeste, I think is just inaccurate. I think they're just all Celeste. And then when they ripen, depends on the strain of Celeste, obviously, but if it's just classified as Celeste and not an improved Celeste, they should ripen darker and then they turn a bit blue. And some of them turn really blue. They are just legitimately blue. There is going to be a fig like that really does impress me. My buddy Chris D in Pennsylvania had showed me photos of his stallion that ripened. I got a stallion that ripened this year, but so far the tree is a little bit weird and it just doesn't want to produce great figs for me just yet. I think it may need some more time, unfortunately, but there's still lots of figs left on it and time left in the season. But the point is though is that he showed me photos of his stallion that came out, and it looked really, really good. So I'm thinking there is going to be a strain of Celeste, whether it's an improved Celeste, because I know my buddy Brian loves the Becknell Celeste, which I'm growing now as well. There's a Celeste that I found in Ocean City, New Jersey. at the beach. Um, that a friend of mine, Dom, and I, we like stalk this tree regularly, and we found this tree. It's huge, and the amount of fruit that this Celeste produces is just insane. It's absolutely ridiculous. I got myself a sucker, and it's growing right now, and it's pretty darn big. I took the sucker like sometime in June, I think, brought it home, and then it's doing really well now. So that one I think could be very impressive, and I want to see the fruits. I might go on Sunday or something to the beach. I don't know. I really want to go because I haven't done anything this summer. What happened? Did we lose our place here? So Terry, I don't have a great answer for you, but honestly, I do believe beyond Black Celeste, there will be another Celeste that really impresses me. Maybe even a couple that really impress me. It's just such a great fig, and it seems like there's a lot of them that exist, that are different than each other enough to be very interesting. Um, my voice, I'm starting to really lose my voice with the lack of water. So we're going to try to wrap this up. I'm trying to get this done here. Yeah, Suwadi does have a peach fuzz texture. Yeah, you're right. That was one that definitely has that. Eric, that was a good point you made there. This is hardy with the winter weather. They're not hardy with the winter weather. It's just that this winter was so mild, Joe. Um, yeah, that Joe, it's a Hawaii apple. It's just called that because that's the variety name because it's so tropical in flavor, but it has nothing to do with Hawaii as far as I know. X Solo said, any issues with the spotted lanternfly? I remember you mentioning that you had them. You know what? I do want to address this issue at some point. I'm going to do its own separate video, I think, on this topic. They have, for the most part, been a non-issue. I was really worried. I don't know if you have them or if anybody else has them. I forget what my friend Romeo was telling me. I had to look to see what he's been, if he's been struggling at all. But I think the consensus is they don't really go after the figs. They hang out on the figs as their life cycle progresses, and they were covered in them. I was like, holy crap, this is going to be a huge issue. But they just kind of disappear. At a certain point in their life cycle, when they get to that adult stage, they leave, and then they go to like some big shade tree, and they start like sucking the sap of that tree. And then most of them just stay around the trees that they love to suck the sap off of. Like, we got a maple out front, I think it is. I think it's a maple. I don't, to be honest with you guys, I can't really tell the difference between a maple and an oak just by looking at it. I think it's a maple. Because I know those little pinwheels come off a maple, I think. But I don't know. I don't know enough about native trees, to be honest with you. The point is that it stays on that tree, and that thing I'm worried for that tree, but I'm not worried for my figs. They like the grapes. They hang out on the grapes, but they don't seem to be sucking the sap on the grapes. They make a mess. So they can make a mess on the figs, and they can make a mess on the grapes. And what I've noticed here, actually, X Solo, I'll show you this. Actually, it's right here. This we talked about today on Instagram and Facebook. I posted this is a grape cluster. Perfect Mars grape cluster. Came out perfect because of these wax paper bags. We get black rot, and then attacks the grape, and this wax paper bag prevents that disease from even hitting the grapes, and then they come out perfect every time. Now, you'll notice, though, that the bag is just black. It's got all these spots on it and stuff, and it looks just crazy. So what I'm noticing is that in the life cycle of these lanternflies, when they go from the intermediate stage to the adult stage, they do this like molting thing, or I don't even know if that's the right word, but they change, it seems like overnight. When they just metamorphosize or whatever it is, overnight they let go of all this residue, and it just is so disgusting and black like this. Or no, the residue isn't black itself. but I believe that's probably mold, like a sooty mold that comes from that residue. Kind of like scale. When you have a lot of scale, you see the residue from the scale, it turns to sooty mold. Um, anyway, so it's disgusting. It's not something you want. So the bags, the bags kind of actually act as like a nice little way of protecting the grapes from that nastiness. So very interesting. I hope. Honestly, I think this is just what people are going to have to do. Really, what they should do instead of just spraying their grapes like crazy in the Northeast, you just bag them, man. Just take the time and bag them. You don't have to spray. It's just such a cost effective thing. Doesn't make any sense, you know. And yeah, you probably have some like mildew and stuff, but don't grow the mildew susceptible varieties. It's just stupid what people do. Shouldn't even be growing wine grapes here in the Northeast, if you ask me. But whatever. Who am I? What am I to judge? I guess. Anyway. All right. So, yeah, your expectations will be set low. Good. Tanglefoot works great for those ants. AC said I could be wrong on this. I call Resource Dark, New Chile Alba, and Verdino Nor having a small fruit in your previous videos. Have they increased in size at all? You know what is that the Nuriciolo de Elba is ripening now, and I'm going to show this in the video soon. It's probably one of the smaller. It is. You know, I saw it with Little Ruby, and that Little Ruby was such a small fruit that they were so small and not really that tasty, so I didn't even bother eating them. And you know, at least Nuriciolo de Elba is pretty tasty for its size. So like, I love eating them. You know, the problem is, what I'm getting at is that since they've been in the ground for so long, the size has increased, and I would say almost the Little Ruby has like doubled in size, or maybe even tripled in size. The Nerucciolo de Elba is maybe not tripled, but I think it's roughly doubled in size. And they're just at this point they're just a small fig instead of like a very small fig. You know, kind of like the size of a. I don't even know. I'm not sure really what to say, but yeah, Zor's Dark it's slightly bigger. They're all getting slightly bigger in the ground and longer and longer stems, longer necks. You grow them in a pot, it's like totally different. But they're just small fruits in general. You know, they're not going to be like big fruits one day. You know. Ah, okay, got it, Joe. Yeah, I don't know who it was I sent cuttings to. Hot Potato said, I'm from Southern California. Fantastic weather for growing figs. Small collection. Would like to graft a few varieties on a good rootstock. What's a good rootstock? Thanks in advance. Well, Hot Potato, I have a whole spreadsheet here. If you go to the special characteristics, you'll see the rootstock candidates. These are very vigorous varieties that should be used as rootstock. I don't know if I'd recommend one of them in particular. There is actually more now that could be a decent rootstock. You'd have to just really try and figure out which one's great for you. It depends, I guess, as well if you want it to be a big tree or a small tree. If you want a small tree, go with Little Ruby. I think that makes a great rootstock actually for a small tree. These are all for big trees. This list here. Sonny said, "Who are the MVPs for main crop figs this year?" That's what Sonny, I just showed you in the video. We just did this whole live stream. That's what this was about. I guess you just joined us. You have to go back, and watch. We talked about 8 to 10 different varieties that been really impressed with. Eric said went from overwatering last year to having them baked in a record 117-degree run this year. You have to have a high quality variety. I've already killed 3 Ronde Bordeaux. Good Lord, Eric. Sonny said, "What's your plan for Breba's next season?" There is no plan for Breba's next season. I don't have a plan just yet. You know, I wanted to plant my Desert King in the ground, but the thing is that I don't really want to plant it here because I'm gonna move, and what you really want is, you know, that Desert King to get itself really well established. You wrap it every year, and then it survives the winter, and then it produces a ton of Brava. So I don't see a long term future, at least right now, for being on this property forever. Enough, at least, to warrant it for me to plant a Desert King here. Now, I might wrap some trees and just see if I can get some good Bravas. You know, who knows? We'll see. It's definitely a possibility for sure. Um, I think I will wrap some trees this year. I'm gonna definitely wrap some trees this year. Maybe, yeah. You know, you're getting me thinking about this stuff here, Sonny. I think I'm gonna do that. There's a whole row of them. I think I'll wrap this year because they're getting some size, and it'd be nice to get some Bravas. Eric said, "Oh, and we already read that." Okay, David, are you still doing the podcast? Not right now. We're gonna come back to it. I don't have time. It's just simple as that. Um, Barely have time to do what I'm doing. I need to focus, and then hopefully in December I'll be done and I can move on with my life. Joe said the black residue sooty mold or grapefruit tree is that on some of the leaves. Yeah, I think it's pretty common with citrus trees. MT, enjoy watching and learning from your YouTube videos about fruits and figs. Good advice. Thank you for your dedication. Little Ruby's on my list. Awesome. Thank you, MT, for the nice words. It means a lot, man. Thank you. Or I don't know if you're. Sorry, I didn't mean to say man. Okay, Eric. Rain is a problem here with warm and dry summers, but our nights typically down to the mid 50s, so I have a hard time ripening any main crop. Man. Well, Eric, are you planting them high above grade? So you sounds like you're in the Pacific Northwest. I think you may have mentioned that in the beginning. No, I don't think you were here in the beginning. But Eric, the best thing you can do, I'm telling you, is if it's warm and dry and you live in at least a zone 7, plant the fig in a mound that's at least a foot high. Build a mound, build a berm, spend the extra, go the extra mile, maybe even spend a little bit of money, get yourself some good soil, or even just dig around, dig some soil and excavate it and put it onto a mound, like just build yourself the right berm and mound and plant the fig tree in that mound, and you will see a huge difference at this time of the year, because the soil will remain to be warm for a longer period of time, and you'll see a huge difference in the spring when there's no leaves on the trees. The mound will get warm quicker, the metabolisms will increase quicker, and you'll have an exponentially larger tree and an exponentially larger harvest, and an earlier harvest as well, every single year. So anyway, guys, that's it. I don't even know how many of you guys are watching at this point, but chat is ended. I wish you all the best. Check out, guys, this blog post. I really do. By the way, this was one of the better blog posts and pieces of information I've come up with, so I highly recommend you guys check this out. What did I do? Did I delete the chat? I think I did. Here we go. So yeah, check out this blog post, guys. I'm telling you, I'm going to make a video on it hopefully this year. But literally, I mean, this is such a comprehensive little section here of information that I really highly recommend. Anybody out there is kind of struggling or doesn't know what they're doing. This is like the information as good as it gets that I think at some point will eventually be in a book that I write. So there you go, guys. Look at that. Ashtanga boy, what's going on, man? Thank you. All right, we'll see you guys later, all right? Everyone take care. Linda says here in Tucson we get lots of grubs in the soil. Oh man, I don't have any suggestions for grubs. I know there's a thing you can put in the soil, but I'm not sure it's really necessary. I don't know. Sounds like Japanese beetles. Hot Potato said it'd be cool if you started a Slack group. What is a Slack group? Isn't this how people share like sounds like a community, right? Community of people. I don't know if that I don't have the desire to do this because is it free? Yeah, I don't want to like is it like a forum like you can put like photos and stuff in here? Like you can have discussions and photos and things like that. My issue is that I don't want to babysit adults. You know what I mean? And the fig community already is a joke as it is. Um, that I don't want to be. Yeah, I don't want to do that. You know. Maybe one day. You know. It's true. I mean, you can't like you can't be the owner or manage a group of adults and not babysit. You know what I mean? Like it's already hard. It's just hard organizing your friends. Like think about how hard that is. Like you want to get all your friends together and do something. You want me to babysit people who I don't even know, and then they can say all this crazy stuff, and then they don't even know how to behave as an adult. They're like children. They never grew up. Just because they like figs doesn't mean that I have to like them, you know? Anyway, I'll think about it. I have been sort of thinking about it, but then every time I think about creating a community, I think about how much better my life has been outside of our figs and the other groups. Like how much time I've sort of in a sense wasted, and also how much grief that I don't have now. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. Oh, just to get to Joan's question here. Yeah. Plant them anytime you want, honestly. As long as you can protect that tree, I don't think you'd be, if you're in a really cold zone 7 like I am, you got to protect it. But if you're in a warmer zone 7 and only gets to like 10 degrees in the winter, you should be fine. The planting style is really important in that who was I telling about this? I was telling Eric about this, who's also probably in the Pacific Northwest. Like I said, build the mound, but then you have to bury a portion of the stem below the soil. So in that mound, hold on a second. Let me just draw this out real quick. All right, so here's the mound. And then let's say that this is the grass all in here. And then this mound is a foot high. And then your tree, let's say, just for sake of argument, the roots are black. That's a horrible, horrible drawing. Okay. Here's your root ball. And then you got your stem of your tree. Only like 2 or 3 inches of the stem needs to be below the soil, below this top layer. And then in the winter, in the fall, what you're going to come in here and do is you're going to lay down all this mulch. And you're going to mulch this thing. And as long as this is mulched right up in here, this stem will survive and your tree will not die. And then in the spring, it will come back and it will turn into an awesome tree. But you need to put the majority of this root system above all this grass down here. All this stuff. Yeah. And you can do this anytime you want. You can do this in the spring. You can do this in the winter. I mean, as long as the ground is workable, you know, it's not frozen. You can plant literally any time. I like the fall personally the most for planting any fruit tree, but a lot of people prefer the spring because it could just be too cold for them. But if you do what I said, it doesn't matter when you plant it. Farmer's market in Goleta. It's near Santa Barbara. This farmer brings ripe to borderline overripe figs. Absolutely fantastic. Has some good varieties. I wish, man. If I lived in California, you would not believe. I would be like in fruit heaven. Still 4 trees on 4. What? Oh, you gotta get on that, Alex. What are you doing, man? You gotta plant those trees, but you gotta do it right, okay? Don't be slacking off here. If you don't plant the fig tree right, I've done it. I do it today, to this day. But I'll tell you what, my next property, the only way that I'm gonna plant any fig tree is in a mound, and I'm gonna put in that work because I'm gonna rent a big ass bulldozer. I didn't mean to say ass. Sorry, guys. Fig Mafia can't be recording all their meetings on Slack. Recorded for the police. Record for the police. You know what? There's nothing really that goes on in that group that's really all that interesting. We just post figs and talk about the figs. That's it. Everyone's so weird about that group. You know, and what's also interesting is that everything I post in that group goes on the blog. So you're not missing anything. It's just a place that where I you know, create these blog posts in the group and then I can talk about it with my friends and that's it. It's just a guarantee or somewhat of a guarantee that some of my friends are going to even watch it. Hey, Randy, it is worth growing. The Everest grape. You guys, there are all these questions all of a sudden. I said I was going to go and then everyone comes in with all these questions. It is a good grape, Randy. You know what, though? It's like exactly like Mars. So, honestly, I would just grow Mars and probably not worry too much about Everest Seedless. I don't really even know what the difference is because I'm seriously growing it. They're in different sides of the yard. My Everest Seedless, yeah, as young as it is, it produced a lot of fruit. It's in a good spot though, you know. But I'm telling you, I don't really see much of a difference between the Mars because they're kind of like all of them are kind of like or at least it's a Concord type grape, as it says, truly seedless Concord type. And the deal is with this, at least what I thought would be really interesting was that it's it's moderately susceptible to all these diseases. I thought it actually would be not susceptible and actually resistant. But if you look at Mars, I think it's resistant to all this crap. And it says slightly. So that's better. better than moderate. So Mars just across the board is better with the disease resistance, and you in Georgia, you better be worrying about that mildew. You know, the black rot is easily solved by bagging the grapes. Um, you see, all you have to worry about is mildew, and that's all I worry about too. And I don't spray because I don't get any mildew because I have resistant varieties, or at least as susceptible, slightly susceptible. But they're like as good as it gets. I've been eating muscadines too. Lane and Triumph's very good. Um, so look at this. Here's the photo of Mars. Here's the photo of Everest Celeste. Do you think there's anything different? It says a distinctly flavorful fruit produced on attractive large clusters. So my vine's just young, and the disease or the fruit that it did produce was just too immature to really accurately judge. But of the fruits I did get to taste, they did remind me a lot of a Concord type grape, just like Mars. So I don't know if the flavor's anywhere. Maybe the flavor will impress me in some way, and that would be like, oh, let's grow that, you know? But I was growing it because I thought it would be good with disease, but it turns out that Mars is better with disease, and believe it or not, the black rot issue is completely solved, which I was struggling with years ago, but the bagging has made it totally a non-issue, so I don't worry about it now. MT said it rains a lot in Singapore, so you need to select the right fig varieties. Tropical climate has its own issues. You know what, MT? If you're growing figs in Singapore, I would probably not do that unless you're going to grow them under plastic. How many inches of rain does Singapore get annually? Holy crap, that's a lot of inches of rain. So you're basically in Florida. You need to be planting them in mounds. And I would probably just grow them under plastic. What you want in your climate is not the figs that are necessarily rain resistant or necessarily split resistant. What you need are figs that have a very short hang time. And there's one that I know Iranian Candy or Rasti's Persian Unknown is really good, and so is De La Senora Hyvernenka, and that has a lot of synonyms. You could probably get that one from Europe. That would be worth growing. And then, it's called Pelle de Bou, I think. Here it is. This one ripens very quickly, I believe. So this one has a very short hang time. And if you read through Ponza's description, it should say in here that it ripens very quickly, he says, which I think is just his way of saying that it has a short hang time. Let me just look in the book real quick just to confirm, because I think that's it. I think that's the... And you go to my spreadsheet too, you can see the special characteristics, short hang time. So these are the figs you want. Oh, yeah, you know what? LSU Champagne would be good too. Forgot about that. But, you know, LSU Champagne this year hasn't been that low, but yeah, it's kind of like 3 or 4 days. You want a fig that ripens in like 3 or 4 days. Because if you don't have short hang time, you just nothing's gonna withstand the rain like that. Nothing. As good as, you know, Verdino del Norte is, and Ruccello de Elba is, and Black Celeste and Celeste in general, you could try them, but they're probably just not gonna do great with that much rain. I mean, that's just a crazy amount of rain. Man, where is this variety in his book? Is it all the way at the end? No. Maybe I missed it. Oh, here it is. Page 45. That doesn't help, actually, because it's not 45. Yeah, here we go. Let's see. Difficult to detach from the tree, resistant to rain and opening of the eye. Yeah, where the heck did I read this then? I don't know. Pretty sure this is it, and if it's not it, I'll find out. Just contact me if you're really interested to know. And contact me, and I'll make sure that I find out and give you the right information. But I'm pretty sure that's right. Yeah, everyone needs that book. Rains here in Singapore, so selected by variety. Okay, 4 flat and ground, small this year, but you suggest pulling out and doing the mound method. Depends on where you live. 4 flat in the ground, small. Yeah, I mean, if you live in a climate like mine, I would, yeah, I probably would. You know, it's amazing because the amount of value that you're going to get out of that tree by putting it in a mound, well, you could here's the other option is you could, instead of digging them up, you could actually just keep mounding up dirt over time, and they will root themselves in that mound, and you'll just create the mound that you want. So you could do that, but if they're small, maybe it's not worth the effort because that'll take years. But if you just plant it in the mound right away, you're good to go. Like, you get, it's instant value. And the amount of value is just ridiculous. It's seriously so insane. People don't understand that at all, unfortunately. Why a short hang time for very rainy locations? Well, think about it, right? Hang time is defined by the when they're green, when the figs are green and hard on the tree, and then they start to swell, they start to turn color and become soft. When that happens, measure the amount of days it takes for it to be ripe, and you pick that fig. So, if, as an example, you have a variety that has a very short hang time, like 3 or 4 days, you actually are able to pick the fig very quickly to then avoid potentially a lot of rain. So in Singapore or Florida, it probably rains like every day, which is really unfortunate. So, here as an example, it might rain like, once every 5 to 7 days. So if I have a fig that, has a short hang time and it ripens every, 3 to 4 days or 5 days, then I'm at least pretty much almost guaranteeing, if you think about it mathematically, you can pretty much guarantee that you will be able to harvest all the figs on that tree, and they'll be of reasonable quality. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to shorten that hang time, or have a shorter hang time. And that's a genetic thing. You know, you can't speed that up in any way. Given you have the right amount of heat. If you have the right amount of heat, it'll be as quickly as the genetics say that they can be. So Singapore, you're not going to run out of heat. You know, Florida, you're not going to run out of heat. So they're going to ripen quick, as quickly as they can. But you want to have that shorter time to just avoid the rain. You know, if I had a fig that instead of ripening, in 3 to 5 the average here is about 7, and some figs take about 10 days. So if I had a fig that takes 10 or 15 days to ripen and swell, well, then there's 10 or 15 days where there's a time in which that fig can be really heavily impacted by rain. But actually, it's not really 10 or 15 days, because a fig that has a 3 or 4 day hang time, day 1 and day 2, it's pretty unlikely that anything really negatively affects it. Just observe the figs, right? If it's just turning color and it's just starting to swell and soften, then you're guaranteed basically that it's still almost green and hard. You know what I mean? Like the green and hard figs don't split. Why don't they split? Because they're basically indestructible, right? So there's a period in which the fig has a period where it's indestructible still, even though it's swelling. But you still count that number of days towards the total of hang time. So if you think about most of these figs, day 1 and day 2, you're not going to really count that. So really it's only day 3 and day 4, where if you get rain on day 3 or day 4, then that's a shame. But just the best you can do, you know? When's the next live cast? I don't know. I may never do this again. No, I'm kidding. No, I really like doing these, to be honest with you guys, because it connects me to my actual audience, which I don't really do a great job of doing. So if I could do more of these, I would. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we will, because the YouTube algorithm really hates me. I'll tell you that. It really hates the longer videos that I've been doing. It hates the other fruit videos I've been doing. Anything non-fig related just gets smashed. Anything that's a fig review gets smashed by the algorithm. So, yeah, these live streams would be a great way to keep building the community of people that watch my videos. You guys are really coming in here. I got 1 or 2 questions left in me. Hopefully at midnight I'm gonna go to sleep. All right, so Brian said he's got a question, and then thoughts on Hardy Chicago. I mean, I guess those will be our last 2 questions. But Hardy Chicago, I mean, it's like as good as it gets. You know what I mean? The problem is, I did want to mention Hardy Chicago, so I'll just mention this. I've talked a lot about Hardy Chicago. It's one of the best figs, period. You could see it here in my top performing spreadsheet list. What happened was, before I went live, I actually removed Malta Black from this list. And the reason I did that is not because I don't like Malta Black, but of the Malta Black figs I've eaten, which is a Hardy Chicago type, I realized that they were planted out front in the hardiness experiment area in my property that has a very dry land. The ground there is extremely dry. I can't really figure out exactly why that is, but I know it has something to do with the shade trees around it, and that there used to be a big shade tree in that exact spot where I'm doing the experiment. The point is, though, is the soil's so dry there that this year I harvested figs that were mind-blowingly good, because it's pretty much as if I was growing the figs in California. The moisture was perfect, and I was able to attain an extremely high quality and So I've realized that Malta Black probably is not as good as I think, because I don't recall growing it in a pot. I've always grown it in the ground, I think. And the ones I've grown in the ground in that spot where the soil's very dry have been very, very good. Now this year, I'll show you this because we did do a video where I compared, I think, like 5 hardy Chicago types to each other. I have to find it here, so bear with me.
All right.
That's not it. That's not it.
So we got a couple of figs to review for you guys today. And that we're going to do actually a hardy Chicago
Oh, this is it.
review. And that I'm growing a few different types of hardy Chicago that are new, that I have not tasted before, that I have, higher expectations for, that sort of have a good reputation in the
All right,
fig
I'm not gonna.
community for being.
All right, we're gonna mute this, but this will come out soon. The point is that I have right in front of me 4 or 5 different hardy Chicagos, different names, and they're similar, obviously. But I'll tell you what, they all taste different, and they taste different enough that, like Malta Black, you could say, it's worth growing multiples. Just in short, the Sangue Dulce tasted like a blueberry. The Hardy Hoboken tasted like a cherry. The Kesariani was kind of, I don't remember my impression of Kesariani. The Norella was similar to Azores Dark in its thickness and its stickiness, but it wasn't as good. The Condes I've had so far have not been as good as Azores Dark either, and I think there might be one other one that I'm not thinking of. But the point is that I've come to realize that Azores Dark is just the best one, and it's weird because I picked it up and it was just a chance, and like I thought, well, what are the chances that I picked up a really good hardy Chicago type when there's all these other ones like St. Rita and Red Lebanese Becca Valley and Black Greek from Marius and Navid's Dark Greek, and there's one called Dark Syrian, and there's there's a bunch of them that a lot of people grow, and they have sort of like a somewhat of a following. But I've grown them, a lot of them over the years, and I've realized that Azores Dark is just so good. And as a result, I didn't want to be so close-minded and just assume that Azores Dark is the best one. So I decided to try to grow more of them. I decided because Malta Black was so impressive, and even Marseille Black is good too, by the way. My parents have a tree down in Ocean City in New Jersey. But I've learned that just by trialing all these different ones that I just mentioned in that video, is that Azores Dark is like a clear cut above the rest of them, and it's not even really close. And I keep seeing these videos or whatever it is, people keep talking about it, and I'm just like thinking to myself, the problem is with these hardy Chicago types, and I'm still not really fairly judging these other ones I've tried in that video that we just looked at. Because they really do need to be in the ground for a very long time, or they need to be in a pot for a long time, like at least 3 years or so. I mean, the Norella I managed to get was really good and really high quality, and that one I think I could accurately judge. The others maybe not. I mean, it's so hard to say because they're going to change next year. I know it. And people keep making these videos of these different fig reviews, and whether it doesn't matter what variety it is, they just are not doing it right. And it's a shame because I really respect what they're doing. I do the same thing, I like what they're doing. I like watching them, but I don't I know that in years to come, all the videos that they've done this year, just starting out and having these young trees and overwatering their trees and seeing their trees and knowing that the fruits that they're eating are just, they're not representative of the variety that it should be. So they're making videos and tasting these figs and giving their honest opinions. I'm not saying they're lying, because they're giving their honest opinions, but guess what? The fruits are going to change next year. So what is the point of telling me what the fig tastes like now, or evaluating the fig now, because just basically everything about it is going to be so different next year and the years to come, that it just seems like you're doing this sort of for nothing, in a way. Now, again, I respect what they're doing, and I want to encourage them what they're doing, because I like what they're doing, and it's important that they're doing what they're doing. But they should have that knowledge in their mind with that. When they make these videos, that the figs that they're giving their opinions on these fruits, and the same thing with the video I just made with the Hardy Chicagos, and I even talk about it in that video, is that they're going to change next year. And I won't really know, but as it stands right now, as good of an opinion as I can possibly give, and thinking about the potential of these figs, and you know what, that's kind of what it comes down to, is that maybe these people are okay with just talking about the potential of the varieties, not necessarily, just how good they are right now in this current moment. So if that's something you want to do, then that's cool, whatever. That's up to you, and I've done that. I've done that in the past. But I'll tell you, like I said, that they don't really come that close to Azores Dark so far. Norella has, but still, I think Azores Dark is a cut above. So we'll see, because I'm not going to give up on them, although I feel like I should. And my friend Eric, who a lot of you guys may know in the fig communities, who grows a lot of figs in California, and is a chocolate taster, I believe. I think that's his job. Like, he literally has a good enough palate, so that's his job. And I'll tell you right now that whatever he says, I would believe. Because I know that I have a pretty good palate, and it seems like he agrees with me in a bunch of my points on some of the figs I've grown, and I've shared a lot of figs with him over the years, and there's not many people I really respect in terms of their palate. So the point is that he certainly has said recently in FigBid, one of his listings of Azores Dark, that let's see here, that he grew like 24 of them or something crazy. Let's see here. When was this, though? August 1st. So this was this year. This is recent. He said, "This fig is very good. I have 20 plus Malinetna types, and this is my favorite so far. It's an early fig. Very good. I'm getting rid of several Malinetna types. I'm keeping 2 of these trees." So, just talking to him a little bit, is that this, like, it's clear that this is like the best one for my money. I don't think he probably gave 20 plus of them a long enough shot, I would imagine, and I didn't give 20 plus of them a long enough shot either to really make that claim. But yeah, whatever. That's all I want to say on that whole thing. Okay. All right, we got one last question that Brian said, and then I really have to go, guys. Sorry to James. I know you're asking some questions and stuff, but copy all those questions, buddy, and just send me a message on like Facebook or Instagram or something, and I'll get back to you then. Brian said, "I live near Portland. I have an RDB, Desert King, and Champagne. What others would you recommend? Consistent crops planted in the ground." Is Portland rainy? I'm pretty sure it is, right? Yeah. What is this? What am I even looking at here? Ah, here we go. Observed participate or precipitation record? No, 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 no. This is nonsense. All right. Well, the point is that Portland's rainy. I'm pretty sure that's the case. So, what you want here, Brian, it's really that simple. Is that you want the varieties that I grow. These you want them to be early, because Portland's, it's pretty cloudy there too, isn't it? It's that Pacific North, that poor Pacific Northwest weather, that dreary, dark Seattle weather. I think it's like Seattle, right? If it's like Seattle, then that's what you want. You want the earlier varieties. You want to give them as much heat as you can, and you want to have the varieties that just will resist that splitting and that moisture, short hang time. You know, it's that simple. You could even go with some of these varieties here, which are my keepers, which I would say are pretty darn good, although some of them do split. Like RDB tends to split a lot. And this year I've been really unimpressed with RDB, I'll tell you that. Desert King's good and Champagne's good. RDB is going to ripen early, but it's going to split probably. So I would get a Celeste. Get a strain of Celeste. That's probably your best bet. And also a Hardy Chicago. They're easy to find. They're cheap. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll see you later, all right? Hope you guys have a nice night. Take care. Have a great weekend, everybody, too. We'll see you for